Thank you for signing up to listen to this presentation as part of the Northern Alliance Equity Week. I'm going to talk about the range of NIF evidence data which is gathered and what it is telling us about Scottish education. To give a bit of background and context, the National Improvement Framework and Improvement Plan, NIF, was established in 2015 and set out a clear vision for Scottish education based on delivering excellence and equity. Scottish ministers have a statutory duty introduced by the Education Scotland Act of 2016 to review the NIF and publish a plan on an annual basis. The National Improvement Framework has 4 priorities which you will be aware of: improving attainment, particularly in literacy and numeracy, closing the attainment gap between the most and least disadvantaged children and young people, improvement in children and young people's health and well-being, and improvement in employability skills and sustained positive school leaver destinations for all young people. The key drivers of improvement will continue to provide a focus and structure for gathering evidence to identify where further improvements can be made and for ensuring we have the evidence sources to contribute to our priorities and to minimise unintended consequences. They all remain equally important, and the links and connections across these key areas are essential to enable continuous improvement. In terms of how we get this information, local authorities submit an annual return to Education Scotland with information relating to key quality indicators and evaluations for all of their primary, secondary and special schools, as well as qualitative data in several areas relevant to the NIF, including school leadership, how we develop and support our head teachers and how we develop leadership across all parts of the school community, teacher professionalism, how we support teachers in their professional development, parental engagement, how we ensure the maximum benefit of parental involvement and engagement in children's learning and in the life of the school, assessment of children's progress, how we gather information about children's progress and how we use this information to support improving outcomes for all, school improvement. Every school has a responsibility to evaluate how well it's doing against the national improvement priorities and other performance measures. These are evaluated by the schools themselves, by the local authority and also by HMI inspectors. Performance information. How we gather and analyse the information to help us target areas of improvement, show where we have been successful and where we need to do a bit more. It is important to note that the NIF return for 2020 was modified in light of COVID-19. So in terms of the information requested from local authorities, instead of a focus being on the drivers, it is focused on the 4 priorities and self-evaluation of QI's 1.3 Leadership of Change, 2.3 Learning, Teaching, Assessment, and 3.2 Raising Attainment and Achievement. School leadership. This driver focuses on the quality and impact of leadership within schools at all levels and roles. Leadership is recognised as a key driver of the success of any school. This obviously comes from a range of career-long professional learning opportunities, as you can see in this slide, and data around participation in these, as well as information from local authorities about their programmes, gives us the information around the extent to which leaders at all levels are empowered and collaborative, and also who empower others to take ownership of their learning and teaching in a collaborative way. Scotland has a strong track record of ensuring the highest quality learning and teaching through professional learning opportunities. QI 1.3 Leadership of Change looks at the self-evaluation of all our schools and the gradings they give themselves. This information is also collated and analysed for every school in Scotland. Gathering evidence on quality of school leadership will help us to identify and share what works and provide support and intervention where leadership may need to improve. What is the evidence telling us? Our education has a growing number of empowered, motivated school leaders who engage in career-long professional learning to further develop their leadership skills and who are keen to make a difference not just at school level but across the system. Teachers are looking for new opportunities to develop and diversify their careers through career pathways and leadership opportunities. In many schools, staff are supported by senior leaders to take on a range of leadership roles and are working together to lead and implement improvement priorities. A key focus for 2020 will be to support and encourage the empowerment of school leaders and school communities and to create a culture of collaborative and system leadership. Teacher professionalism. Teacher professionalism links with the school leadership driver and demonstrates the overall quality of teaching workforce in Scotland and the impact of their professional learning on children and young people's progress and achievement. In Scotland, we have a highly professional graduate teaching workforce with high professional standards set by the GTCS. It is important that we maintain our teachers' professionalism and support them to engage in career-long professional learning to further increase their skills. Data will also look at measuring quality in initial teacher education, which is a project in collaboration between all 9 teacher education universities and the GTCS, and will track a cohort of newly qualified teachers through their first 5 years in the profession. What is evidence telling us? Our teachers are highly committed, motivated, and engaged in their own professional learning. We know from evidence gathered in previous years that the level of engagement in professional learning is increasing. More than 3/4 of active teachers are now engaged in the 5-yearly cycle of professional update, and the number of teachers being awarded GTCS professional recognition of their expertise is high and increasing year on year. Evidence suggests a strong appetite for a wide range of professional learning amongst teachers, including master's level learning. Looking ahead, Education Scotland will continue to work with partners to develop a range of resources to support teachers and professional learning providers in using the new national model of professional learning, which identifies the key principles and features of effective learning that will build capacity and promote collaborative practices. Assessment of children's progress. Assessment of children and young people's progress includes a range of evidence of what children and young people learn and achieve throughout their education and how well this prepares them for life beyond the school. This includes achievement of curriculum for excellence levels, skills, qualifications and other awards, and achievement of positive and sustained destinations. We need robust and consistent evidence which will help us in improving health and well-being, raising attainment and closing the poverty-related attainment gap. We need to know the size of the attainment gap at the different ages and stages across Scotland in order to take the right action to close it. And we need to know whether the attainment gap is narrowing over time in order to know whether these actions we are taking are the right ones. The annual collection of teacher professional judgment data on achievement for curriculum for excellence levels and the use of national standardised assessments will lead to more consistent assessment approaches within the broad general education. Data gathered on children and young people's progress is essential to achieving excellence and equity. Improved data on children and young people's progress at key stages, including differences between those from the most and least deprived areas, will allow for planning future interventions and ensure that all children and young people achieve as well as they can. What the evidence is telling us. The data being collected on children's progress continues to help inform a shared understanding at local and national level on the areas where focused action is required to reduce the gap in attainment and health and well-being between children and young people from the most and least deprived areas. The interim valuation of the £750 million Attainment Scotland Fund showed that 78% of head teachers had already seen an improvement in attainment and well-being as a result of this funding, and nearly all head teachers expected to see further improvements in the coming years. The evidence being gathered also confirms that teachers are becoming increasingly confident about making judgments on achievement of a level, and the use of national standardisations going forward will help with this consistency in the approach to assessment with the broad general education. Latest statistics continue to show positive trends in the number of school leavers achieving qualifications awards and going on to positive destinations. Looking ahead, improving literacy and numeracy, particularly amongst those learners vulnerable to poorer outcomes, remains the key priority. Data literacy amongst teacher professionals will also continue to remain a key focus over the coming year, and the use of Insight Senior Phase benchmarking tool and the BGE benchmarking tool will provide the means for supporting this activity. Our national approach to getting it right for every child, the Scottish Government is increasing its focus on better prevention and mitigating childhood adversity. Education Scotland is working with NHS Scotland staff and schools to make the links between nurture, ACEs and trauma-informed practice to ensure effective practice and support in positive mental health and well-being in school improvement. This driver focuses on the overall quality of education provided by each school in Scotland and its effectiveness in driving further improvement. School improvement focuses on the quality of education, including learning, teaching and assessment, as well as the quality of partnerships that are in place to support children and young people with their broader needs. Evaluating learning, teaching and assessment and the quality of what goes on in classrooms will tell us how good the experience is for young children and young people as we strive towards excellence for all. Since 1996, How Good Is Our School? Higeus has become a nationally and internationally recognised brand, which underpins effective self-evaluation as its starting point for school improvement. It is a key aspect in the Scottish approach to improvement. The framework is designed to be used to support self-evaluation and reflection by practitioners at all levels. School inspections, school self-evaluation and local authority reporting on attainment and achievement will tell us how well schools are achieving equity for all children and young people. This will include the school's success at raising attainment for all whilst closing the attainment gap between the most and least disadvantaged children and young people. We expect that this self-evaluation will be carried out increasingly with partners and other services. Data on improving attendance and reducing exclusions are critical factors in ensuring children and young people's time at school and their opportunities to succeed are maximised. Self-evaluation of 2.3 Learning, Teaching Assessment looks at the self-evaluation of our schools and what grading they give themselves. This information is collated and analysed from every school within Scotland. What the evidence is telling us. Across the country, there's a range of data on our schools who are evaluated as satisfactory or better on learning, teaching and assessment, and most were evaluated as being satisfactory better on raising attainment and achievement. Approaches for assessing and monitoring children's and young people's progress across the broad general education are improving. Staff are using a broader range of assessment evidence to evaluate children and young people's progress in their learning. Overall, schools have gained confidence and knowledge in identifying the poverty-related attainment gap in their local context. Almost all schools have planned interventions in place for using Attainment Scotland funding. Looking ahead, we will also continue to focus on supporting leaders and practitioners through the RICS to further develop their skills, to deliver professional learning for others, to drive innovation and improvement in learning and teaching, to use data to raise attainment and close the poverty-related attainment gap, and continue to improve the capacity of staff to self-evaluate improvement. Parental engagement. This covers parental and family engagement in the learning of children and young people, as well as parental involvement in the life and work of the school. Parental engagement focuses on the ways in which parents, carers and families can best be supported to develop the skills and confidence to engage in and encourage their children's learning at school and everyday life. Parental involvement includes parental representation in decision making, collaboration between parents and educators in matters such as school improvement planning, using the skills of parents and carers to enrich the curriculum, and communication between home and early learning and childcare settings and school. Evidence is collected mainly through the Parental Involvement and Engagement Census, Family Learning Audits, Scottish Household Survey, and the main one being HMIE pre-inspection questionnaires. What the evidence is telling us. The evidence from the NIF Interactive Evidence Report indicates that overall satisfaction levels with schools amongst the general population, measured via the Scottish Household Survey, satisfaction levels amongst parents appear to be higher than amongst the general population in other areas. Pre-inspection evidence, albeit with important caveats about representation of this data, indicates that there are high levels of confidence amongst parents about approaching school with questions and that the school gave them advice on how to support their child's learning at home. It also indicated that most parents feel that they are being kept informed through the work of the Parent Council. Moving forward, key improvement activity in 2020 will be developing and taking forward the 13 key goals as identified in the Joint Government COSLA Learning Together National Action Plan. This plan will include steps to strengthen guidance, develop training and support materials, and to improve the links between home and school. This driver is where all the information is gathered from all the other drivers for improvement, and the outcomes for which we are aiming to have a positive impact on help to provide a full picture of how well Scottish education is performing and whether it is improving and the context in which children and young people learn. brings together all available current evidence, not only on children's outcomes, but also on the drivers for improvement. It also aims to present an objective picture of Scotland based on a wide range of sources, with a particular focus on the differences in outcomes for children living in the most and least deprived areas. Such evidence is crucial to be able to learn from and develop plans for improvement where needed. Irrespective of where we are, we always strive to do better and make plans to do so. The National Improvement Framework Interactive Evidence Report has improved the availability, quality and consistency of data and extended understanding of what works to drive improvements for children and young people across all parts of the Scottish education system. This tool is a wealth of information, some of which is broken down into local authority level, in summary tables, and is certainly useful and worth a visit. The NIF Interactive Evidence Report can be found online. Now going to have a wee look at the actual interactive evidence report. So once you find it online, you click to enter. Due to the fact there is a lot of data within this tool, it takes a wee while to load up, as you can see from my screen, and sometimes you have to press it twice, but it's well worth the wait. So once we get in, as you can see from the contents page, there is a wealth of information available to you. We just take a wee look at the early years. Again, takes a wee minute. You can see breakdown. This is the 27 to 30 month review, and you can break this down into local authority level. And you can see also trends over time. Go back to the contents page. We go into broad general education. We can see clearly there the percentage points between quintiles 1 and quintiles 5 in terms of, we'll look at primary 1 data there for literacy in East Ayrshire, and you can see quite clearly where they are at. Back to contents. You might want to look at school leaver destinations, evidence on the gap. Okay, so we go through and look at Edinburgh. You can see the gap between the most and least deprived, and you can also see trends over time. So they have 8.9 percentage points between quintile 1 and quintile 5. Okay. Professional update and professional standards. Again, you can see this. Now, this won't break down into local authorities, but it gives you an idea of what people are engaging in across Scotland. So a very useful tool and certainly worth a visit. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to my presentation today, and I hope you're able to join us next week for our question and answer session on the 29th of September at 4:30. Grant Murray from Northern Alliance and myself will be available to answer any questions you may have on this presentation. Thank you very much for listening.